So my name is Emma. I am a research fellow here at Edinburgh University, and I'm based within the GLIMER project. So I am going to fairly briefly talk to you about what our work is in Scotland on accommodation, and kind of just give a really quick overview of the situation for accommodation for asylum seekers and refugees in Scotland. I'm sure many of you will be familiar with that, but I just want to kind of set the context for our roundtable discussion. So our work in GLIMER on accommodation took place largely over last year, although it is an ongoing concern for us as we work through the rest of our research aims. Last year we conducted 29 interviews with government and non-government stakeholders involved in policy making and the provision of accommodation for asylum seekers and refugees in Scotland. This included people who work on issues specifically related to dispersal, but it also included people who are working on issues related to resettlement, which is the program that started in 2015 and has rolled out accommodation for refugees across all 32 local Scottish local authorities, which is quite a change to the kind of Glasgow focus on asylum accommodation that I had beforehand. So in our focus on accommodation, we asked three main questions. Because we're interested specifically in governance and the governance of accommodation issues, we first asked what are the governance issues related to dispersal, what are their impacts in terms of providing housing for asylum seekers and then dispersal pathway refugees, and what does this mean in terms of its impact on localities. We then also asked similar questions for resettlement. So what are the governance dynamics related to the Syrian or the vulnerable person resettlement program, and what impact do they have on localities? And then finally, what do the two schemes, dispersal and resettlement, mean together in Scotland and in broader UK context? So what I'm going to do is really quickly recap dispersal and resettlement so everybody is kind of on the same page. And quickly talk about some of the issues that were raised through our research by our stakeholders. So, dispersal is a system of housing that is separate from the UK social housing system and is entirely related to a person's asylum seeking status. If an asylum seeking person has no other access to accommodation, they are entitled to a dispersal accommodation until a decision has been made on their asylum application. If their application is successful, then they are entitled to social housing and can move out of dispersal accommodation. If their application is refused, then they do not have access to any kind of state social housing. So because dispersal accommodation is considered an immigration matter and not a housing matter, ultimate responsibility for its provision lies with the Home Office. However, the Home Office has increasingly distanced itself from this, contracting responsibility first to local government and from 2012 in Glasgow under the Compass contract to private multinational landlords, and until September this year, that company will be circling. So the privatisation of dispersal contracts has resulted in a series of changes to asylum seeker accommodation. These include a kind of documented decline in housing standards and concerns about the security and safety of asylum-seeking residents. These concerns can be related to the privatisation of accommodation contracts, which incentivise cost saving and encourage landlords to acquire cheap housing of a low standard in which to accommodate asylum seekers. This privatisation also impacts dispersal geography, which then also impacts asylum seeker experiences of housing. Private landlords, again driven by cost-saving elements of the contract, are likely to disperse asylum seekers to new parts of Glasgow with cheaper rentals. These are areas which are often peripheral and have little asylum seeking support infrastructure. And this also impacts services such as ESOL provision, people's access to education, immigration support and education. And we argue that all of these things can be seen as governance issues, as local authorities and local actors, though they are involved in the support of asylum seekers in have little input on how housing affects local areas and local people, including asylum seekers. Privatised contracts also mean that the transition between asylum seeker and refugee housing can be fraught. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with the issues of the 28-day move-on period and the difficulty of transitioning between private accommodation and social housing, which often involves multiple actors from multiple different forms of government and third sector and private sector, which the coordination of which often means that people come through the gaps. The contracts also mean that refused asylum seekers have very few housing options. So refused asylum seekers have no recourse to public funds, which means that they cannot access social housing and they no longer have access to dispersal housing. As asylum seeker accommodation is an immigration matter and therefore reserved to the UK government, there is limited potential in Scotland actually and across the UK for intervention from local government and in Scotland from devolved government, although this is something that can be contested. Asylum seekers with no recourse to public funds and refugees who have kind of fallen through the gaps in the 2018 move-on period are therefore very vulnerable to homelessness. In Glasgow, these gaps tend to be picked up by the third sector and anti-destitution networks, which themselves are under huge amounts of pressure and resourcing pressures. If we think about the ongoing situation with Serco and the evictions, we can think of this in terms of a governance issue. Evictions which are decided by a private landlord under influence and pressure from the reserved government, which impacts on the local third sector and local authorities, anti-destitution organisations, and refugees themselves, asylum seekers themselves, who have very little scope to put pressure on the government. So that's dispersal. If we move on quickly to resettlement. Resettlement, or so by which I mean the Vulnerable Persons Resettlement Programme, was announced in 2015 to settle 20,000 Syrian refugees in the UK over 5 years. The programme relies on a partnership between the UNHCR, the Home Office and local authorities who work together to identify people living in refugee camps who are suitable for resettlement in the UK. Accommodation support is provided by local authorities who volunteer to participate in the programme and receive resourcing to do so. As I said, in Scotland, all 32 local authorities participate in resettlement, which marks a big change in the landscape, where it was previously only dispersal in Glasgow. So in terms of accommodation, resettlement is quite different from dispersal because it devolves decision-making powers about accommodation, so things like housing type, housing location, how people want to approach kind of housing people, the pathway and processes through which you do this, to local authorities rather than private companies. This means that local authorities have a far more direct role in accommodation administration and provision, whether that's through a registered social landlord route, so kind of social housing route, or through private landlords, and can take an integrated approach to housing and the provision of other services. So housing can be linked to how people access employment, education, ESOL support. It also means that refugee housing can be integrated into the planning of local, social and economic development, which is a big change from the current situation for dispersal. Taken together, the housing approach for resettlement can therefore be argued to be positive because it means that housing provision can be adapted to location and refugee needs. So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, it's fairly responsive to very different locations all across Scotland. However, it can also be challenging because these very different approaches require lots of different types of support. And support organisations at the moment tend to be based in Glasgow or within the central belt and generally have experience of kind of urban housing, urban experiences, which are very different to rural and rural experiences. It can also be challenging because partnerships and networks, which have been key to resolving housing issues in Glasgow, don't necessarily exist either in remote and rural areas or between remote and rural areas. So it makes problem solving and kind of sharing experience and knowledge much more challenging. We could argue that all of these things are challenges of governance, because though local authorities have more autonomy than in dispersal situations on day-to-day housing decisions, the fate of their refugee residents, the development of the resettlement programme, and the way in which housing is provided kind of ultimately still lies with the Home Office. However, though the Home Office conducts audits on local authority resettlement activities, the people that we spoke to felt that there was a lack of in-depth, meaningful engagement with their work and saw little scope for intervention on future Home Office resettlement issues. So briefly, if we look at the overall picture of accommodation provision for asylum seekers and refugees in Scotland, it is clear that there's a very uneven dynamic between housing access through the dispersal pathway, whether that's through dispersal pathway asylum seeking housing or dispersal pathway refugee housing, and housing access through resettlement programs. As NASA said, the kind of existence of these two programs has created a two-tier system for asylum seeking and refugee residents, depending on their immigration status, how they've entered the UK, and this all becomes concretized in where they live and how they live. We could also argue that this is a kind of two-tier system of governance, in which local authorities involved in resettlement have increased autonomy over refugee housing, whilst local authorities participating in, at the same time that it is increasingly restricted for local authorities involved in dispersal. So these are all issues that I'm sure will come up in our roundtable discussion. I just wanted to set context and raise some of the issues that are prevalent and relevant to the discussion. If anyone has questions, you can either ask me now or save me for our panelists. We have lots of expertise. So thank you.